You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. It's more fun to believe. Third year bonus. Darn tootin', it's more fun to believe. I said, darn tootin', it is more fun to believe. This is Ryan Singer, host of Me and Paranormal You. Welcome to the program. If you've never listened to the program before, we welcome you. We welcome you. We welcome you. Sorry, sometimes I skip like an old school compact disc. Old enough to remember the old CDs. Hey kids, remember when? Don't you love comedy? That's remember when? Remember when kids got beaten? Weren't those the days? Weren't those the good old days when we beat the shit out of kids? Remember those good old days when no one felt okay to go seek therapy and we physically abused children for small things? No, it's discipline. It's not physical abuse. Listen, I had my hindquarters whooped with leather belts. Trust me, I get it. I get it. Don't you wish these kids would get spanked today? Hit with sticks, rulers, and remember when teachers could beat the shit out of kids and keep them in order? Wow. Who did those kids grow up to be? Who did those kids grow up to be? Here we all are, animals, creatures, trying to figure it out as we go. Okay, I don't know why I'm going on a remember when riff. If I do stand-up comedy, that's what I've been doing for 22, 23 years. So trust me, I've seen them all. I've seen the remember when comedians have now transferred into even comedians younger than me doing remember when stuff, and it warms my heart, and it does not tickle my funny bone, but it warms my heart. I'm kind of a nostalgic kind of guy, so I guess I like things that I've seen before. Is that what nostalgia is? Okay. If you welcome to the program, you can watch if you're like, well, Mr. Singer, what is your comedy like? You can go to YouTube and you can watch for free The Supernatural, a comedy special I filmed in a haunted school. If that gives you any indication about what my comedy might be like, there's lots of great jokes in there and some stories and things like that. I think you'll enjoy it. You know. So, welcome to the program. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about drones. We're going to talk about, the potential of mass hysteria and why that is a myth. The myth of mass hysteria. And we're going to talk a little bit about Rutger Bregman and Humankind, that wonderful book about the goodness, about how human beings all have delicious good pudding inside of them as opposed to cannibalistic, murderous pudding inside of us that needs civilization to tame the wild beast that is the animal inside of us. No, actually, we really don't need that, do we? It's Stanley Milgram's experiment, the famous shock experiment. Teacher shocks learner when learner doesn't get information correct. Turns out that's all BS too. It's one of these things where, okay, maybe we don't wait so long for personal archives of these psychologists like Philip Zimbardo and Stanley Milgram who just want to be famous. Psychologists. They don't care about the actual science of psychology. And they don't care if they perpetuate myths, lies, and false data. They just want to be famous and have the most famous experiment. It's for show, these guys. And, it's upsetting to me because I have read The Lucifer Effect, which is a book, Philip Zimbardo's book about the Stanford prison experiment, which I'm sure you probably have heard of. And it turns out it's all just BS. It's all orchestrated. And it's not accurate. It's not scientific in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I would argue the experiments that I've been doing, I'm not a scientist, by the way. I'm not a sociologist. I'm not a psychologist. But I have partaken in some scientific borderline scientific experiments on paranormal investigations, and they are more scientific than this. Because at the very least, we are doing them with an honest intention of trying to understand or learn what an outcome might be that has an effect, that has a cause. And the Stanford prison experiment and the Stanley Milgram's experiment that he got even more famous than Zabardo with the shock treatment thing, it's all just fluff, and it turns out. Okay, I got some vibrations happening here. There's lots of things going on over here. I don't exactly know who I am and where I'm going and where I've been and how it will all be. But such is life. I want to give you an update on drones. We haven't talked about the drone situation on this show. I have never considered the drone phenomena that's happening to be anything paranormal. Or supernatural, as it's been going on. You see the lights blinking on the drones, and in most of the footage, they seem like drones. It seems easily explainable that they are drones. Origins, intentions, etc., those are up in the air. I believe we have an answer for you about the drones. And I don't know if this is being reported. I haven't been on the news, etc., etc. There is a CE5, Dr. Stephen Greer, the CE5 protocols, close encounters of the fifth kind, conscious contact, human-initiated contact with extraterrestrials from human beings in a peaceful way, using consciousness and meditation and intention, remote viewing, etc. These are CE5 protocols, right? So he's got a Discord group that I'm a member of. Anybody can be a member of it. You don't have to be invited or something. It's not like I'm special. There was an announcement. There was actually two pretty big announcements posted over at the CE5 Discord group. And, I think both of them are important. The first one is a little bit troubling. This one's from one of the moderators of the Discord. This is a direct quote. I'm reading it to you. We have been notified that a false character assassination campaign will soon be launched against Dr. Greer by corrupt interests wishing to stop the upcoming disclosures. This has been expected and will not deter us. Deter us. Deter. I shall remove the tears. It will not deter us, which is troubling. You don't like to hear that kind of information. But apparently it's been expected. So, you believe what you want, right? I'm giving you the information. They're getting out in front of this. Is it all, I have a friend who's very scientifically minded. He's had top secret clearance working at, Wright-Patt Air Force Base. He's skeptical until proven otherwise about a lot of paranormal stuff, even though he's been cracking over the years. But we've been chiseling away at him. But he thinks all of it's potentially, he thinks all of it's BS. All of it's just fantasy and make-believe. And I told him, I go, aren't we way past that now? Aren't we way past? We have open Senate hearings where people are saying for the record, for the public, that UFOs exist, UAPs exist, alien bodies, non-human, non-biological entities exist, and they are in our possession. They are saying that. UFOs especially, they are saying that. And this is for all the public to see. So when people say, oh, I'm still not so sure I believe in that, my response nowadays is, well, I am sorry that you are not aware of the truth or the reality of the information that's out there. It's time to catch up. It's time to move past that idea and get caught up with the rest of us, because we're moving into the future and we're moving in at light speed right now. Potentially, this is light speed, right? I've never seen Greer release or his people release any kind of statement like this about a false character assassination that's coming. That is kind of that's a desperate act of a dying beast. And the dying beast is the military-industrial complex, which has been profiting and using crashed UFO technology and reverse engineering for decades and decades now. We're talking about Lockheed Martin. We're talking about all of these contractors. Now, they don't want to give up the goods, right? And there's a guy named Mike Turner who's he's a congressman here in my hometown. He represents part of his district is Dayton, Ohio, which is Wright Pat Air Force Base, which is one of the hearts of it all, right? When it comes to this alien, Air Force intelligence, all this kind of stuff. Alien bodies were transported there from Roswell. Do we have a commercial already? Golly. We're going to be right back, and I'm going to get into this, and I got to tell you, I'm going to be much more calm about it than I was when I recorded a bonus 30-year bonus. It's basically, I called it an off-the-grid episode for patrons. So you can even be a free patron. You can hear me right after I watched this documentary. I was so fired up last night. It was 3 a.m. almost. And I was just letting it rip. There was no filter. Not how I like to be on the main podcast feed. We like to do some meditation, bring it back to earth, synthesize our emotions, integrate peace, love, harmony, messaging. That's what we're going to hopefully be doing on this one. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer. $3 a month, no commercials, or even be a free patron and get stuff like that sometimes. Okay, I'm back. I hope you're back too. I'm talking about Mike Turner, who is a congressman in the state of Ohio and the Dayton, Ohio area. And it turns out, don't take it, I suspected, because his name is mentioned in the foreword of the sequel book by Lukatsky and Colm Kelleher and George Knapp, the sequel to Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. These are the people who ran the secret UFO program that was outed in the New York Times article in 2017, which mistakenly labeled it as ATIP, run by Lou Elizondo, which it was not. Lou Elizondo was going to be brought in later if the new version of the program, which was called AAWASAP, AAWASAP, was going to be able to get funding from the DoD after its initial funding ran out, which it did not. So Lou Elizondo was not in charge of AAWASAP. AAWASAP was the UFO program. It was not ATIP. I watched a documentary called The Program by James Fox last night. It did not clear that up, which was a little disturbing. And it's not a big deal because they had a lot of information to get to. And the fact that they just didn't set the record straight on that, maybe they didn't want to get into the convoluted nature of the details and the acronyms, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. But AAWASAP, not ATIP. Now AARO. Okay, I think we're all on the same. So AAWASAP was, going to become ATIP. Maybe ATIP was going to be a splinter off of AAWASAP, and then funding went away. Now it is AARO. Never really went away, turns out, maybe, right? So, Mike Turner practically single-handedly blocking Disclousre. How do we feel about that? Well, I'll tell you how I felt about it at 3 a.m. last night. Started leaving comments on his Facebook page, asking him why he was so hell-bent on blocking Disclousre. When his name was mentioned in the foreword or the introduction of the sequel book by Lukatsky, Kelleher, and George Knapp, people who know everything about the program because they ran it for the Pentagon, not George Knapp, he's a reporter, but when his name was mentioned, he's the only name they mentioned as someone who's trying to essentially cockblock Disclousre, at least in Congress. Right. And effectively he has to some degree by stripping the latest defense bill of disclosure measures, which is deeply upsetting. So I'm like, well, this guy's got to be in the pocket of big defense contractors who stand to profit and are in control of this secret hidden space program, right? That has been kind of a rogue government of its own. Turns out David Grush, who was the big key witness, he had a Newsmax or whatever interview, and then he testified in front of Congress. He was he had top secret clearance, right? This guy had top secret clearance. So he's in the know about all this stuff. He testified in front of Congress and really blew people's faces off with all the information he had. Now, he was on, admittedly, not a show I'm a fan of, the Joe Rogan show. I'm not a fan of that show. Any show that made Alex Jones even more popular is not something we need, in my opinion. And you can't hide behind the shield of I'm an entertainer when you reach certain levels of influence. Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. Oh, it's just comedy. It's comedy purposes. I'm an entertainer. Okay, shut the fuck up. Okay, I'm getting fired up again. I thought I synthesized all this. Well, this is a new thing that I didn't synthesize last night because I was synthesizing other things about Mike Turner. But so David Grush goes on there to say that Mike Turner's biggest donors are in fact these defense contractors, these super PACs with that are all the defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, etc. So what a surprise. The guy is in the pocket. He's bought and sold by these defense contractors who have their hands on all these black ops secret space programs, right? And this technology and downed UFOs, and they're reverse engineering this stuff. And there was one moment in this documentary called The Program, which I cannot recommend enough. The Program, it's on Amazon Prime. You have to buy it. You have to rent. You have to buy it. You can't even rent it, at least as of last night. It's like $19.99. So if you do any Amazon shopping, which, I don't like to use Amazon for anything. But if you have to do some Christmas shopping and you're using Amazon, just do select a day or two later and you get the digital credits. Stock up enough of those digital credits, and that's what you can use those for, buying this movie, this documentary, which I highly recommend. My buddy Daniela recommended it, and I'm really glad she did, because it's bonkers what's in this documentary. It really blow your face off, and I got so fired up. I got extremely upset at Mike Turner all over again. I got upset about one of my guys too. This is a guy who's my guy. This guy, I think he's Dr. Hal Puthoff. He wrote Mind Race, about the race between the United States and the Soviet Union trying to develop remote viewing as like a strategic weapon. He's been one of the government's guys for research. I think he might even be on the board of ION's Institute of Noetic Sciences. I'm sure he's hung out at the Moreau Institute, all these places that I love, right? And these things that are really cool. He's a part of all this stuff, right? I'm sure he's probably buddies with, some of the all-time greats, in my opinion, like Dr. Roger Nelson and Dr. Jeffrey Mishlove and people like that. But he said some things about why disclosure is not happening that just deeply upset me on a level that I never thought I would say F Hal Puthoff, but and I would never, I wouldn't mean it. That's why I'm saying, I put that on the Patreon. That's a patron only, even a free patron. It's for the public, actually. You don't have to be a patron. You can listen to it. But I can't put that on the main feed over here. That's not how I want to run this show. We don't typically over here like to run a show where we're, MFing people. That's not the vibe. That doesn't get us anywhere. That doesn't add to a productive conversation, or it doesn't move a conversation forward when you start calling people names, right? So, interesting, though, having dinner with friends tonight, and they're talking about, the conspiracy theory about, drones and things trying to assassinate Trump and things like that, or a false flag. And you know what? It's like, okay, so QAnon is just co-opting every conspiracy theory that's ever existed and making Trump the star of it. That's all QAnon is, it turns out. I guess I should have realized this earlier. But all they do is they co-opt conspiracy theories that already exist, and they just insert that guy into it, number 45 into it. And I'm just not on board with any of that. So, as you know, it's all garbage. But the drone thing, that's what we're talking about here. Let me read some information. This is what started this whole thing. I get so distracted so easily because there's so much going on in the world of all the strange stuff, right? So let me get into this. Let me read this for you. And this was an announcement that was, it's a Substack article or whatever you want to call it by a guy named Dick Russell. And let me read it, and then I'm going to tell you who Dick Russell is. After I read it, I'll tell you Dick Russell. I'm just going to read a couple parts of it because I don't think we need to read this whole thing for you. Now, let me give you the preface of it here. At the risk of droning on, Russell writes, or perish the thought, being labeled a conspiracy theorist. Before returning to some important environmental news, I'm going to publish a couple of comments received after my latest Substack that may shed further light on what's transpiring in our skies. The first comes from Bill Kelly, who I know from correspondence about our mutual interest in the Kennedy assassination and his blog, JFK Countercoup. He emailed me the following. As for drones over New Jersey, where I live a few miles from JBMDL, Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, I work at the base part-time a few weeks a year as a COB, citizen on the battlefield. We act out scenarios as civilians where they could be deployed. The last mission lasted 2 weeks. We populated a small village. Humvees came through, 2 larger villages, one of which I visited when a convoy came through, and drones dropped tennis balls into their open hatches as fake bombs. We collected some of the tennis balls and delivered them to the drone operators who were hidden with their equipment in a truck, a video monitor that could see from the drone cameras. Now, the drones at Dix are kept at range 1. There are over 40 ranges, each of a different weapon, but range 1 is set apart and is very high security with 3 gates you have to go through before the security checkpoint. So, range 1 is this location, right, where they're keeping these drones. The Navy does their testing at Lakehurst. Okay, so then there was a whistleblower source that sent him the following email and granted Dick Russell permission to publish it without attribution. Quote, I am reluctant to say this in the public domain because of the sensitivity of the information circulating around military intelligence and other military intel operations via Pentagon sources. Parenthetically, he writes, info before the fact, perhaps. He goes on to say, goes on to write, yes, they are looking for drones with a unique signature that could possibly penetrate established security defenses and secured radio frequencies. A rogue military group actively operating has access to 16 commercial-grade drones modified to carry weapons. 2 of these drones have been found and taken out of service. 3 of the military operatives have been arrested, and as a result, the military intelligence received information from them about a mission that the MI turned over via Pentagon sources to the Secret Service. Extremely sensitive intel. Secret Service / sensitive Pentagon information. Okay. The Secret Service is now actively gathering information on how to detect and jam radio frequencies that control these drone operations. Okay, so it gets into some things about, was it going to be an assassination attempt on President-elect Trump, and some other things here. But there was, where is it? Has it been removed? There's no way this has been removed since I read it last. What's going on here? I know for a fact I read this. Okay, now I got to go back into a text message exchange I had with a friend of mine earlier and see if I sent him the same article. It is the same article. And okay, let's see here. Sorry, I'm kind of going through this live right now. Okay, this is slightly different. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, the rumor has it has spread. These have been debunked that they are. It's not an Iranian mothership. It's not Chinese. Here we go. Wait. Okay, so Dick Russell reached out to Frank Camper, a retired 20-year veteran of the intelligence agencies and once part of CIA's Project Stargate. Camper emailed me, quote, I have no direct knowledge about this drone incident, but experience based on the confusion, denials, and baseless guesses are down to 2 possibilities. These are Chinese or jihadists preparing for near-future drone attack, inauguration day, ? Or these are U.S. military practicing anti-drone countermeasures, end quote. Camper was baffled by the government's claimed inability to assess the situation. Quote, one helicopter could photo ID these drones. We got the same unknown song and dance about the Chinese balloons until it was undeniable, end quote. Okay, so then Dr. Greer was contacted. Okay. Dr. Greer shared with me. Okay, this is the answer you're looking for. Dr. Greer shared with me a just received email dispatched to him from a contact in Army Special Forces unit. It was headed, quote, radar guy here. I know who is operating the drones. And it begins, quote, 25-year radar operator for a major agency here. Just thought I'd let you all know what has been going on these past few weeks. The drones are part of a military drill being conducted by Space Force. Everything is on a need-to-know basis, which is why there's so much confusion. The U.S. Space Force, established at the end of 2019 as the newest branch of our armed services, and according to its website is, quote, focused solely on pursuing superiority in the space domain. And access to and freedom to operate in space underpins our national security and economic prosperity. However, space is no longer free from conflict. Potential adversaries are seeking ways to deny the U.S. access to space capabilities fundamental to our way of war, and modern way of life. Those two things are interchangeable. Our modern way of life is war. So, at least when it comes to the United States of America, our MO is war. That's how the bigwigs make their money. It's the military industrial complex, the MIC. Okay, so the revelations from Radar Guy continue. Quote, what gets me concerned and why I had to make this post is that something big is about to go down. I happen to know that there are additional, quote, full lockout, end quote, drills that are scheduled to take place between now and Christmas Eve. These operations involve the full turnover of all radio/radar and aircraft communications to the military for several hours at a time. In conjunction with that, there are also scheduled satellite launches, quote, off the books, end quote, which have been occurring since October. They are setting up some kind of big show for the public very soon. CNN was even at our facility shooting pre-roll footage for a future story. I don't know exactly what is going on, but all I know is this, all caps, get ready, exclamation point. Okay, so we got Space Force deploying the drones. We have another email talking about drones and a rogue military group that had their hand on 16 drones that were equipped to carry weaponry. So things like that. What we don't know, and wait for it here. You hear that? That is the sound of caffeine getting ready to enter your boy's body. Because it's late at night. I've had a big day today, and we're I got to be juiced up for this. So, Space Force drones, maybe, I guess. Sounds like likely that it could be Space Force drones, all these drones flying around everywhere. I mean, they're happening in Dayton, Ohio over Wright-Patt Air Force Base. They're happening all over the place. Is this going to happen before Christmas Eve? Well, we got like about a week and a half. Maybe we got a week, I guess, before we know. So, is it going to happen? I don't know. The character assassination attempt on Dr. Stephen Greer, is that going to happen? I don't know. Are we all just caught up in some big circus of fantasy? I really would be shocked. I mean, I've had paranormal experiences. You have had paranormal experiences. I've seen lights in the sky. You've probably seen ghosts, lights in the sky, UFOs. Maybe you've had creature feature interactions. Maybe you've seen Bigfoot. Maybe you've seen Maybe you've seen fairies. I don't know. But what we do know is this, that the government is not capable of fooling us all on an individual basis all the time, everywhere. That's just not how this works. And the government is our neighbors. Just a friendly reminder that people who work for the government are people, just like you and me. Are some of them reptilians? Are some of them shape-shifting reptilians that, that incorporate the moon as an amplifier, like David Icke would tell you? No. David Icke made predictions. He made specific predictions about dates. They didn't happen. People still believed David Icke. There are people on the internet. There's some show, I don't even name the name of it, and I haven't listened to it and I haven't watched it, but it's spreading this crazy information. It's QAnon type shit, right? And they're using spiritual language. They've co-opted the language of spirituality, which is upsetting, I guess. I don't even have to guess. It is upsetting. The language and the words and the themes of the spirituality movement, which really started coming to a head during COVID, and like all the conspiracies about COVID and the vaccines, et cetera, and now half the country are anti-vaxxers, and RFK Jr. wants to get rid of the polio vaccine. It's insane, right? But as if there's some grand conspiracy where so many people are just these evil people, when in fact we know that deep inside every human being, with the exception of some medical exceptions, exemptions maybe, if we want to, if that's what we want to call psychopathy, is delicious good human pudding. There's inside every human, there's delicious good pudding, right? And that's just what it is. So 45% of the world isn't trying to drink the adrenal juices of your children's brains to stay young forever, as part of the Illuminati partying with Beyonce and Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a Satanist. I mean, there's people in my family who believe that. I'm flabbergasted over here. Taylor Swift has done more for the individual economies of cities in this United States than cities have. And I'm not a Swiftie, and I'm saying that. Okay, let's take a quick break. We're going to throw in some commercials in here, part of the commercial industrial complex. The CIC, dude. Okay, patreon.com/Ryan Singer. No commercials ever at $3 a month. We'll be right back. And we've returned to the program. At least I've returned. Are you? If you're hearing my voice, I suppose you've returned as well. Very good. Very, very good. Let's decompress the talk a little bit. We don't have Nigel coming in. No. Because here's what I've done. I'm going to get Nigel a buzzer, and Nigel can buzz me. It'll be like a ding ding or whatever. I'm working on getting a buzzer for the studio so Nigel can buzz me, and then I know when he's going to come in, and then we'll have Nigel enter that way. Nigel wanted to do the Nigel Before Christmas as a special Christmas episode next week, so maybe we'll do that. I don't know. Also, there are some talks about having a paranormal carnival. And what does that even mean? It's the live stream show idea that I had a while ago, which has now transformed back into the original paranormal live stream show I had called Late Night on the Astral Plane, which one of these days I'm going to get off the ground, right? A weekly live stream paranormal show. Now, so what is Paranormal Carnival? Well, if this comes together, and I don't know, I'd like to gauge interest maybe. I've got some friends who every once in a while we get together on a Zoom, and there's art, there's music, there's random card pulls sometimes, there's, just general chatter about life and the paranormal, the esoteric, the mystical, the supernatural, the spiritual. And these people, you would recognize their name because they've been guests on the program before. Now, so some of us, we get together and we do that, and we just kind of hang out. You might remember my friend Mario. You might, recognize the name Jessica, who has brought Oscar on the program, and Madeline, Mala as well. And then someone else has also partaken in these. So we're thinking about maybe setting up an actual, because usually these things kind of pop up and they'll just pop off. Mario's kind of in charge of, he's been kind of setting them up sometimes, and he'll just send you a link and be like, we're jumping on in 3 minutes. Believe me when I tell you, we're going to be out here doing crazy. And, half the time I'm driving somewhere or out at a show and I can't get on. But sometimes I'm around. So, but if we set up one before the end of the year for people to hang out at, I think that could be fun, maybe for an hour and a half or whatever it is. So, and that would be on Zoom. So maybe some art therapy / card pulls for humanity, or maybe some, who knows? I could, discuss, the latest in the UAP UFO disclosure movement, amongst other things. I got to tell you, I am hyper motivated right now to on a completely different project that's in my mind, and there's just like I can't do that right now because I got all these other balls I'm trying to juggle, and I might be becoming a lot more busy after the beginning of the year as well with some other stuff. So it's all becoming convoluted, but it has to do with shapeshifters, and I'm here for that. I'm here for that. So anyway, that's a little update on some things. We are right around the corner from the holidays. It's my favorite time of year, holiday-wise, not temperature-wise. But I am drinking eggnog. I had an eggnog milkshake from United Dairy Farmers last night. Let me clarify that. I'm a malt guy now. I had an eggnog malt, my first ever eggnog malt from United Dairy Farmers. Did not disappoint. This was kind of late at night, but I'm not afraid to go late night malt on that ass, right? I picked up a half gallon of nog, and I was like, well, while I'm here, because they're open 24 hours, it's just the most beautiful thing in the world. I got me an eggnog malt, and boy, oh boy, did I pay for it this afternoon out having lunch with a friend of mine, the wonderful filmmaker, editor, Dave Temsfeld. And boy, oh boy, was there an emergency happening. And I'm pretty sure it was not the jalapeno cheeseburger I was eating for breakfast, but in fact, it was the eggnog milkshake that I drank at around midnight last night was probably the culprit. You don't need to know this information, but I'm telling it to you because I'm being vulnerable. That's not being vulnerable. Who's to say what vulnerability is, right? So, okay, recap what we've covered. Drones, likely Space Force, some kind of Space Force drill. Need to know basis. Information won't come out until later. Some people speculating that it's a preamble to something big happening, a big show being put on in the sky. There's lots of conspiracies about this, right? Dr. Greer does not shy away from telling you what would be a conspiracy theory at this point, although I guess if you ask him, it's a proven conspiracy of a false flag alien invasion. Aliens are not going to invade us because they would have done that already. They wouldn't wait for us to catch up on technology by reverse engineering all of their stuff. Dr. Greer believes, according to Dick Russell, let's go back to what Dick Russell says here. And then we're going to get into who Dick Russell is, by the way, where a lot of this information is coming from, and secondhand from someone sending it to Dick, right? He writes, Dr. Greer believes that the ensuing drone deluge marks what's known as a PSYOP in the intelligence trade, an operation designed to manipulate and frighten the populace. This is related, he says, to knowledge by elements of the military-industrial complex of coming massive disclosure. It's basically the MIC, the military-industrial complex, knows that massive disclosure we're on the brink, right? We're on the precipice. We are on the precipice of massive disclosure. According to Dr. Greer, you felt this, right? And you understand that the hearings in Congress and people pushing and the videos on Twitter or wherever. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but the videos on the internet or whatever, Instagram, TikTok, on your phones. People capturing orbs. There are orbs. There are orbs and balls of light being caught as well, not just drones. These have been caught for a long, long time. More and more people are paying attention. Eyes to the sky. I'm usually eyes down looking for gold, but sometimes I look to the sky for UFOs and balls of light and orbs, etc. So this massive disclosure of long withheld evidence by a rogue group within Army Special Forces who are fed up with the secrecy. According to Dr. Greer, their firsthand documentation will describe, quote, how our military has been downing extraterrestrial craft and reverse engineering their technology. They've retrieved bodies of so-called NHIs, non-human intelligence, at the same black sites. They've been at facilities where the captured technology has been used to create man-made triangular and circular craft that look like UFOs, end quote. So there is a rogue group within Army Special Forces. This sounds like a Jerry Bruckheimer film. This fall on February on Amazon Prime, Rogue, whatever. So it sounds like that, right? It almost sounds a little too fantastical to some degree. But people are people are people. I've been saying that for years. People are people are people. It's a fun thing to say. You just say whatever the thing is and you say it 3 times. Books are books are books. You know what I mean? And podcasts are podcasts are podcasts. Do you know what I mean? It sounds, for some reason to me, it's the rule of 3 probably, but it sounds, caffeine is caffeine is caffeine. You get it? And getting jacked is getting jacked is getting jacked, if you know what I mean. So we've got people who are people who are people. And not everybody is all about consolidating and hoarding power and being the gatekeeper of information. There are people who understand that this transcends protocol. Done it? Gosh darn it. Don't this transcend protocol? Well, golly, I'd say this transcends protocol. Disclosure Cowboy, are you here? Oh, golly, I am. Disclosure Cowboy, you're new. We've never met you before. Can we talk to you when we get back? Darn tootin' you can. We'll be right back after this commercial break, and we're going to sit down with Disclosure Cowboy. This is going to be awesome. Welcome back to the program. This is Ryan Singer. I am thrilled because for the first time ever, we were sitting down with someone I didn't even know existed. Disclosure Cowboy, how you doing? Oh, golly, I'm doing good. Okay, Disclosure Cowboy, you sound you do sound you sound a little too close to my own voice. But oh, darn tootin' I do. Yes, you do. But we're just going to go with it because, hey, maybe you're my brother from another mother. Hey, a calf from another half. Okay, I don't know what that means, but oh, you're roping in the wild now, boy. Okay, I'm roping in the wild. I understand that this is rodeo talk that you're making up, that no one has ever used before, but I'm here for it, okay? So there are rogue elements in the Army Special Forces who are fed up with secrecy. That's what Dr. Greer is saying. And he says they're going to give us information about how the military has been downing extraterrestrial craft and reverse engineering their technology and alien bodies. Oh, darn tootin'. Okay, so that's your response to that one? Yo, you're roping in the wild now, boy. Okay, you've said those things a couple times now. I'm wondering if you've got more than just a few phrases. Darn tootin' I do. Okay, well, that's very good to know. Disclosure Cowboy is here with us. And, I don't know, what's your thoughts on this, Disclosure Cowboy? Orbs, oh boy. Okay, Disclosure Cowboy must have been listening to the show because I love that rule of 3, Disclosure Cowboy. I appreciate you doing that. You know what they say, it only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Oh, boy. That's right, they do. That's when you say you're close to something. And so what do you mean? Disclosure is like horseshoes and hand grenades. It's getting close now. Okay, Disclosure Cowboy, appreciate that. Now I understand where you kind of came in from a weird angle on that. But hey, you're Disclosure Cowboy. That's my guy DC. So what am I going to say, Save a UFO, ride a cowboy. Okay, that's getting a little outside of the purview of what we want to kind of promote and talk about here on the show. This is supposed to be for, the whole entire family. I heard you say fuck earlier. Oh, you're right, I did, Disclosure Cowboy. I'm not going to tell a cowboy that he's not allowed to use some rough language. Okay, I appreciate you coming on here and giving us your point of view, Disclosure Cowboy. Darn tootin'. Okay, thank you, Disclosure Cowboy. God, that was a wild ride, and I hope it was fun for you. Maybe it shouldn't have lasted more than 8 seconds. Oh, don't talk about that now. Okay, cowboys probably don't like that joke when it comes to, because I don't have to tell you the 8. There's a movie starring George Strait. It's a great movie, 8 Seconds. Or maybe it's Luke Perry. I can't remember. Either way, they both should have been in the movie because I love both those guys. Dick Russell goes on to write, this isn't the first time some of these allegations have surfaced. In 2023, David Grush, U.S. Air Force officer and former intelligence official, testified under oath before the same House committee about the multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program that included non-human spacecraft and recovered dead pilots. Grush said he'd been denied access to this program and his knowledge was secondhand. Now, we now know that program is called Immaculate Constellation. And if you are listening to this program, I implore you to go to patreon.com/Ryan Singer. I have made for the public. You can be a free patron. I believe it's open to the public. You don't even have to join Patreon. Search Ryan Singer or Me and Paranormal You, and I have put up the documents of what was submitted to the hearing committee, to Congress, about Immaculate Constellation. You can get in there. A few weeks back, or a couple weeks ago, time seems elongated to me now, which, hey, listen, by the way, I ain't mad about that, because that means I live longer. Okay, very good. So sometimes I talk to myself like I'm a child. Like, okay, very good. You had fun there just now. Oh, yes, I did. Okay, so very good again. You're having fun. That's a good sign. Maybe it's the Diet Mountain Dew kicking in. Don't tell people you're drinking Diet Mountain Dew. They'll know you're in Dayton, Ohio, getting back in touch with your your fucking hillbilly roots, you know? So, DMD. DMD, dude. I'm smoking that DMD. There's no one here. Why am I laughing? I'm like entertaining myself. Are you not entertained? Smoking that DMD, that Diet Mountain Dew. By smoking, I mean taking, drinking, chugging it. Smoking that DMD. Okay. That's new to me. This DMD thing, smoking the DMD, that's new to me, so I'm going to enjoy it. It will not be the last time we hear it. It will be said ad nauseum on this program for the next 5 years, at least as long as I'm still able and allowed or not prevented legally from drinking or smoking the Diet Mountain Dew. What a shit beverage, by the way. And I'm over here drinking it because I needed caffeine. And I like smoking the DMD. Okay, here we go. We're talking about serious stuff here, Ryan. Oh, okay. Okay. Uncle Serious came in. Uncle DogStar just showed up. We are trying to be serious. This is serious information. This is paradigm shifting for the universe. Okay, Uncle DogStar, why so serious? Will you just get back to reading it? Yes, fine, Uncle DogStar. UDS. Why am I'm like the government now? Everything has to be an acronym. I have made fun of I just had this grand revelation. I've been making fun of the government for God, they love their acronyms. The government, these idiots, they love their acronym. Everything's got to be an acronym. Everything's got to be an acronym. Meanwhile, it occurs to me in this moment of clarity as I'm smoking some DMD, and maybe my brain is finally now firing at the level it's supposed to because of the Mountain Dew coursing through my arteries, that I also love acronyms. And it's like, hold up a mirror to yourself, bro. You know, that old saying where it's like, well, if you hate something about somebody, it's because you do it. It's like, oh, I hate John. He does this thing that pisses me off. Meanwhile, he's like, you're doing it, as you even say it. So I've been making fun of the government for their love of acronyms. Meanwhile, I acronymize everything. Acronymize everything? Read my acronymicon. Okay, we're having way too much fun. We're going off the rail. Let's get back onto it. This is the first time some of these allegations have surfaced. David Grush, right? He's the one who went on Joe Rogan and talked about Mike Turner. His biggest donors were the defense contractors who stand to gain the most from these things remaining secret because they are, in fact, keeping it from not only Congress and most of government, but from the American people as well. This is Uncle DogStar Why so serious? This is paradigm shifting news and information. In fact, it changes everything. Everything? Yes, everything. Does it change the way? I'm going to stop you right there, Uncle DogStar, because maybe you've been alone too long, but I'm not going to let you finish that sentence. Well, I wasn't going to. Yes, you were. Certain things we don't talk about, okay? At least public on microphones. And yes, the answer is yes. Anyway, the answer is always yes. It changes everything. So you're saying it will change the way? Yes. Please stop. Yes. And yes. And yes to your follow-up question, and yes to the follow-up to the follow-up. This information is paradigm shifting to the entire world. It, in my opinion, because of this, it transcends protocols. It transcends the Constitution, right, which was written by a bunch of drunks who owned slaves. It transcends that. These NDAs, or these secrecy documents, like you're granted access, and if you talk about these, you'll go to jail. Those are out the window. You have immunity when you are disclosing or whistleblowing about something that changes the fabric of reality as everyone knows it. Will it change the way? Yes. It will. Please, we got back on track. I'm trying to be serious, and now you're asking me if it's... And yes, it does. It changes everything. Uncle DogStar. Wow, Disclousre Cowboy, Uncle DogStar. Who else is going to show up in the last 15, 20, 45 minutes? How long is this episode going to be? We don't know, because it's getting towards the end of the year, so there's lots of things I wanted to say, and I can only say this year, so I have to get them out. That's not true, but we'll be right back. Will it change the way? Yes. See, he's been asking me the whole time we were away at commercial. Uncle DogStar has been asking me very specific things about, will Disclousre change this very specific thing? And okay, the answer is yes. And then he's like, okay, well then, will it change? And then he asked me another very specific thing. And it's not appropriate for the show, okay? We don't need to do this. It's not like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? The answer is no, we're not there yet, but we're close. Ice Cube is driving the car. The kids are in the back seat. When it comes to Disclousre, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And sooner or later, the parent will just snap and say, we're fine, we're there. Yes, you can have the ice cream. It will change everything, in fact. So, some of Grush's initial briefing information had come from Dr. Greer, who is now serving as senior advisor to the Special Forces team and has begun presenting a 312-page briefing book to key individuals within the U.S. and United Kingdom governments. Greer doesn't know the precise date when the material will be released, but the group has said it will happen by mid-January, before the inauguration of President Trump, and that it will be historic. This is information that how did I not notice this earlier? Because I think I was focused on the drone component. Interesting. Last night, 3 a.m, I watched a YouTube video of Dr. Greer giving a seminar at a retreat weekend. There's a bunch of videos that they broke up and they're putting out. They're releasing on the YouTube page. I highly recommend you subscribe to the YouTube page. But he goes through the history, like what got him into the Disclousre Project and how it wasn't something he was planning on doing. And it was just CE5 and the protocols trying to become peaceful ambassadors from people on Earth, put a peaceful face forward to extraterrestrials and ETs out into the universe, as opposed to this military-industrial, this warfaring face, this violent face, this agitated face that we were putting out to space, right? So, and then one thing led to another. He's been tried to be discredited by having an association with, I think it's Lawrence Rockefeller. He explains that briefly as well. And it's funny to me. I know someone personally in my own life. We all know people personally in our own lives. That's what it means to be a person and know people. So I guess that's a little redundant, and that's a little redundant. Will it change that? Yes, it will. Uncle DogStar, please go sit down. Find a Columbo. Find a Columbo movie of the week. You know, Columbo was never a series. It was just a bunch of movies of the week over and over and over and over and over again. It's amazing. It's amazing to me, that information. Anyway, any hoodles. So, in this video, Dr. Greer details and explains the beginnings of the Disclosure Project, and it's quite mind-blowing because there's some usual suspects pop up. Robert Bigelow's name comes up at the JW Ranch in Wyoming, which is owned by the Rockefellers, where the Clintons would vacation every September when Bill was president. And then that's when Bill would, that's when they'd be given information that Greer had gathered, because presidents don't get UFO and alien information. They're out of the loop because of this secretive rogue government that's operating that is trans-international. Anyway, and then he talks about a meeting he had with a bunch of, high-level spies, spooks, NSA, CIA, DOD type people at you'll never guess where. Okay, I'll tell you. The Monroe Institute. Ring a bell? Probably does, because I talk about Monroe all the time, and I talk about doing the gateway meditations. So, because I'm still doing them, I try to do them. I do them almost every night. I'm on wave 3 right now. So it's about understanding that you are more than your physical body. And now we're getting into remote viewing, astral projection, etc. These are the same things that Dr. Greer is discussing and the protocols of CE5. Now, the Monroe Institute is interesting. It is a collection. It is a, I don't know if collection's the right word. It is a spot on the super secret, kind of wild, totally public space map, right? So it's this institute where you can go and pay a pretty penny to do the Gateway program or the Gateway Voyager, right? And which is, when you go in person, it's slightly different. It's more intense, I'm sure, and there's more information, and you have a guided instructor. Now, as opposed to just doing it yourself at home with headphones, right? And a dream in your heart, friend. Who is this? Is this the wistful Astral Traveler? It's just a dream in your heart. Okay, I'm not even sure I like that character, and we don't need this person to show up right now because we're trying to land this plane. But you just needed a dream in your heart, that's all. I know, it's the holiday season, and all we ever needed was a dream, $1 in a dream if you like to gamble. But no, I'm talking about tether the cord and separate the body from the soul. Yeah, okay. The wistful Astral Traveler. Could we have come up with an easier to say character name, please? The Wistful Traveler. How about that? Okay. Okay. I can't move on. I can't move on from it. I want to move on. I do. And you as the listener, you're like, God, Ryan, move on. Click over. Get that. It's like the wheel on Wheel of Fortune when it's getting ready to hit the jackpot and it's just stuck. And you're just like, click over. And I'm like, I can't let it go, man. I'm the Wistful Traveler. Okay. What does that change? Yes, it changes. See, Uncle Dog, Uncle Serious, Uncle DogStar, you take the Wistful Traveler and you guys talk so I could do this show, please. I'm exasperated over here. I'm flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted. He hates those cans. Okay. Any fans of The Jerk and Jackie Mason? I was talking about something serious. I know I was, Uncle DogStar. So Uncle DogStar and I combined characters, didn't I? Because Uncle DogStar was the one who's so serious. Get back to the program, right? Yes, I will. Okay, and stop asking me if it changes everything. Okay, so, God, I turned into a child there just now. You ever yell at people who aren't there? I'm sure it happens. I'm just really glad I have Nigel on mute right now because he'd be having a heyday with me. The Monroe Institute is this very special place, right? Meetings happen, high-level meetings of people. Do you have $2,500? You could go there for the weekend, not including travel. So if you're anywhere close to Virginia, I would recommend it. If you had $2,500, I'd love to do it for the week. Not in the budget right now for me, but it's interesting because they went there. This was, within like 20 years ago, probably 25, 30 years ago. I'll have to double check. I'm going to do a Google search right now as I'm recording, even though it's bad podcast form. Bad podcast warning. Bad podcast form. Warning. Ryan is committing bad podcast etiquette by Googling while he's recording instead of pausing and then coming back and acting like no time has elapsed. Why is that? Are we at the end of the show? I'm not ready for it to be over. Okay, so here we go. I'm on the about. General information. Oh, yeah, the music is coming. I guess I'm going to give you this information, though. Let's see if we got the history of the Monroe Institute here. It's not giving me a year that it started, but company contact career. Ooh, career. I'm going to look on there earlier. I need a job. I need money. So let's go to the history here. The Monroe Institute had its beginnings in Research and Development Division of Monroe Industries Incorporated. At the time, in the year 1958, was investigating methods and techniques of accelerated learning through practical environmental changes. As a result of certain findings, the decision was made to broaden the research. So in 1971, the Institute was created to facilitate this new expanded approach. You know what that means, right? Oh, we're going to try to accelerate learning so we can become the smartest people and have the smartest soldiers and all this other kind of stuff. Then, we discovered something. We are more than our physical bodies. I'm the wistful traveler. Yes, I know you are, and you probably already knew this because you're out there traveling the astral planes. You got a carry-on bag? Hell no. You got a knapsack and I was going to call it a weenie bag? A weenie bag? What is it called? It's not a knapsack. It's a thing. It's like a belt you wear around. It's a satchel. It's a satchel sack. It's your sack satchel. It's your weenie bag. Fuck. What? Is this what happens? I learned too many new words today, so I lost this one? No, I think it's because I created too many new people today, so I lost some words as a punishment. Because Uncle DogStar made me forget the word knapsack or whatever it is. I called it a weenie bag. Well, you put your weenies in there. What? Like pigs in a blanket weenies? Oh God, what's happened? We have devolved. This is supposed to be informative for you. It's supposed to help you maybe not worry so much about the drone thing. Less panic. I'm going to be at Go Bananas Comedy Club all weekend, Thursday through Sunday with my buddy Dave Waite. I'll be opening for him. New Year's Eve, I'll be in Dayton, Kentucky at the Commonwealth Sanctuary, 2 shows, 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock. December 28th, I'll be in Bloomington, Indiana. Don't Tell Comedy Show. At a donut shop or something. I'm not sure where. Or it's a Pink Poodle. I think it's called the Pink Poodle. Anyway, I love you. I hope you love yourself. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope, if nothing else, it was entertaining. What's going to happen here in the next week? I guess we're going to find out real soon, aren't we? Okay. Well, I'll see you at a live show, I hope. And if not, I'll see you at the watering hole. Where? On the astral plane. Thank you, wistful traveler.